Andre the Giant was one of the most iconic figures in professional wrestling history, not just because of his unmatched size, but also for the mythos that surrounded his life. His presence was larger than life, both in the ring and outside it. However, it wasn't until after his death in 1993 that the world began to truly understand the man behind the legend. A series of revelations about his personal life, struggles, and acts of kindness painted a far more nuanced picture than what most fans had known during his wrestling prime. Born André René Roussimoff in 1946 in Coulommiers, France, André began showing signs of gigantism at an early age. The condition, later understood to be acromegaly, resulted in his pituitary gland producing excess growth hormone. By the time he was a teenager, he was already a giant in his village, and the limitations of his size began to manifest. From being unable to fit in desks at school to requiring special accommodations for transport, his life was constantly defined by his physical stature. Yet Andre rarely spoke of the pain that came with it. After his death, close friends and family revealed that he endured excruciating joint pain and often struggled with everyday activities, pain he kept hidden from the public eye to maintain the aura of the invincible giant. One of the most startling revelations that came to light after his passing was the extent of Andre's loneliness. Despite being surrounded by crowds and adored by fans around the world, Andre often found himself isolated. Fellow wrestlers and acquaintances later confessed that he would frequently retreat into solitude during tours, preferring the quiet of his hotel room over the company of others. While Andre was known for his booming laugh and jovial personality, the reality was that forming close connections was difficult. His sheer size made intimacy a challenge. Whether it was fitting into a car, sharing a table at a restaurant, or even simply hugging someone, Andre always felt like an outsider. It wasn't just physical space he struggled with, but emotional space as well. After he died, it became evident that behind the smile was a man yearning for normalcy, something he would never truly have. Another lesser-known aspect of Andre's life was his relationship with alcohol. Known as a legendary drinker, Andre's consumption became the stuff of folklore. Stories of him consuming over 100 beers in a single sitting were often dismissed as exaggerations. Yet after his death, those close to him confirmed that these tales were, in fact, true. His immense size allowed him to ingest quantities of alcohol that would kill most men, but it was also revealed that his drinking was more than just party behavior. It was a coping mechanism. Wrestling icon Ric Flair and others revealed that Andre drank heavily to dull the physical pain caused by his condition and to quiet the emotional turmoil he often kept hidden. It was a tragic irony. The man who brought joy to so many was himself struggling in silence. Professionally, Andre was portrayed as a monster heel or gentle giant depending on the storyline, but those who knew him best shared stories of a kind-hearted, deeply generous soul. After his death, it emerged that Andre quietly supported several charities and individuals in need. He didn't want recognition for these deeds. Instead, he chose to help privately. There was the tale of a young fan with a disability whom Andre invited backstage at multiple events, forging a relationship with the boy and his family. Stories like these were numerous, showing a pattern of compassion and empathy from a man whose own life was marked by struggle. Many of his peers later expressed regret for not recognizing the emotional weight he carried, while they focused on the larger-than-life persona he projected. Perhaps the most shocking detail that came out after Andre's death was the existence of a daughter. During his lifetime, Andre rarely spoke of having any children. However, it was revealed that he had a daughter named Robin, born in 1979. Their relationship was strained and complicated, largely due to Andre's rigorous travel schedule and the instability of his wrestling career. Robin shared in interviews after his passing that she had only seen her father a handful of times. She carried a mix of emotions, pride in who he was, but also sadness at the distance that had existed between them. Andre's friends later admitted that he spoke of Robin often, keeping her photo in his wallet, but he struggled with how to be a father when his life was defined by perpetual motion and public spectacle. Andre's passing itself was wrapped in symbolism. He died in a Paris hotel room while attending his father's funeral, a detail that underscored the deep family ties he maintained despite the chaos of his career. At the time of his death, he was only 46 years old, but his body had endured the wear and tear of someone far older. After his death, his ashes were scattered on his North Carolina ranch, a place where he felt peace. It was perhaps the only location where Andre could live quietly and without the stares and whispers that followed him everywhere else. Friends recalled that he loved his ranch, enjoying the solitude and the freedom from judgment that it offered. It became clear that this sanctuary was one of the few places where Andre the Giant could just be Andrei Roussimoff. Another posthumous revelation that deeply moved fans was the extent of his suffering in the final years of his life. While he continued to appear in wrestling promotions and films, most notably in The Princess Bride, his health was deteriorating rapidly. The crew of The Princess Bride shared that during filming, Andre could barely walk without assistance. He couldn't hold his co-stars or perform many physical tasks without experiencing severe pain. Despite this, he never complained. He remained committed to his role, delivering a performance that became iconic. Director Rob Reiner and actor Carrie Elwes spoke with great admiration about Andre's professionalism and warmth on set. It became evident that he was not just a performer, but someone who deeply respected the craft and the people he worked with. Beyond wrestling and film, Andre was also known to have a complex relationship with fame. In public, he would often be swarmed by fans, something he accepted as part of the job. But after his death, friends disclosed that he longed for the ability to do simple things anonymously. Go to a cafe, attend a movie, or walk down the street. His fame, compounded by his stature, meant that he could never fade into the background. Even disguises or hats couldn't make him less conspicuous. The inability to experience life in ordinary ways was a burden he rarely vocalized but carried deeply. It was an unseen cost of his celebrity, one that made his fame feel more like a prison than a privilege. Moreover, Andre's financial situation was another aspect misunderstood during his lifetime. Fans often assumed he was immensely wealthy, given his fame. But in reality, wrestling salaries in Andre's era were not what they are today, and his medical expenses were significant. After his death, it was revealed that he managed his finances carefully, ensuring that his daughter would be provided for. He had invested wisely in his North Carolina property and had created a trust to support Robin. It showed a side of Andre that was methodical and responsible, someone who thought long-term even when his own future was uncertain due to his health. Andre's legacy also found resonance in the ways he inspired others. Wrestlers like Big Show, who followed in his footsteps, often cited Andre as their idol and mentor. Big Show revealed in interviews that Andre gave him advice early in his career, encouraging him to embrace his uniqueness rather than be ashamed of it. That kind of mentorship wasn't widely known until Andre had passed, further cementing his influence on the next generation of performers. His impact wasn't limited to wrestling alone. He became a pop culture icon, recognized even by those who never watched a wrestling match. His likeness, personality, and story became part of folklore, but it was the human behind the myth that finally came into focus after his death. Even now, decades after his passing, Andre the Giant continues to fascinate and inspire. Documentaries like HBO's Andre the Giant further peeled back the layers of his life, bringing to light recordings, personal letters, and previously untold stories that gave depth to his legend. One particularly touching moment came from Vince McMahon, who revealed that Andre was the only wrestler he ever referred to as a friend. That word, friend, carried immense weight given how transactional the world of professional wrestling can be. It spoke to the respect and affection Andre garnered, even in a business where alliances often shift with the wind. In the end, the most profound truths about Andre the Giant came not from the ring, but from the quiet, human spaces of his life. He was a man who lived in a body that made him an icon, but also a prisoner. While millions cheered for him, while children idolized him and promoters built fortunes on his name, Andre was simultaneously carrying the crushing weight of a reality few ever saw. Every movement he made took effort. Every step was a reminder of the pain caused by his condition. His joints ached constantly, his back was perpetually strained, and even resting posed challenges due to his size. Simple pleasures, like sitting in a chair, riding in a car, or boarding a plane, became complex logistical nightmares that required planning and adaptation. This disconnect between the man and the myth became one of the defining paradoxes of his existence. He brought joy to millions while enduring a loneliness that fame only seemed to magnify. Crowds followed him, yet intimacy eluded him. The world adored him, but few truly understood him. Andre's laughter echoed through arenas, hotel bars, and movie sets. But beneath that jovial exterior was a man quietly enduring the physical and emotional isolation that came with being extraordinary in a world designed for the ordinary. Friends revealed after his death that he often wept alone in hotel rooms, longing not for fame or fortune, but for the ability to live without being stared at, pointed at, or treated as a spectacle. His need for connection, for belonging, was as large as his frame, yet it was constantly out of reach. He was generous, thoughtful, and deeply complex. He gave to others not just with money, but with time, kindness, and his presence. He listened more than he spoke, often choosing to support, quietly rather than seek credit. Those closest to him spoke of his loyalty and protectiveness, especially toward those who were vulnerable or in need. In these moments, the giant became gentle, even fragile, and while the public knew him as the eighth wonder of the world, those closest to him knew him simply as Andre, a man whose greatest struggle was never in defeating opponents, but in navigating a world not built for someone like him. His life was a triumph and a tragedy intertwined, a towering figure whose humanity became most visible only after he was gone.